and welcome back to another video on the football scene and to another weekend review, reviewing all of this weekend's Premier League and Championship action. And let's get straight into it. West Ham 3, Chelsea 2, a crazy game. Silva and Mount scored for Chelsea in the first half. Lovely goal from Mount before goals from Lanzini, Bowen and Matsuaku. Sealed the win for West Ham. Really poor for Mendy for two of the goals, and the penalty and the Matsuaku goal. But this is a great win for West Ham. Chelsea, though, they're struggling for form. Moving on, it finished Newcastle 1, Burnley 0 at St James's Park, and what a huge win this was for Newcastle. Callum Wilson getting the only goal of the game in the 40th minute, and yeah, they deserved it too. They were the better team here. Big win for Eddie Howe. He gets his first run, and you do wonder how much of a boost that could provide them. Both of them only 3 points off the relegation edge now. So yeah, they're all growing confidence, but that for Newcastle, that's a huge win. Moving on then, it was a massive late goal for Liverpool at Molineux as they defeated Wolves by 1-0. Divock Origi with the only goal of the game in the 94th minute, and yeah, the only mystery was why it took so long. Jota missed an unbelievable chance, but Liverpool definitely deserved their win, and it's a big relief with it coming so late. So yeah, they'll be absolutely over the moon with that. For Wolves, though, I think they'll be disappointed considering their position they were in, not to hold out for a point. But moving on, it finished Southampton 1, Brighton 1 at St Mary's. Brozier in the 29th minute gave Southampton the lead before Morpay in the 98th minute equalised, and Gerald draw was a fair result, but for Southampton, after having to leave so long and conceding it so late, that must be so frustrating for them. Yeah, they must be absolutely gutted. But for Brighton, considering the position they're in, it's a solid point. I think both teams won't be heartbroken with a point, but for Southampton, obviously, it will hurt more. But moving on then, it finished Watford 1, City 3 at Vicarage Road. Raheem Sterling gave City a flyer, and goals from Silva put them 3-0 up at brace. Watford pulled one back, but yeah, in the end it wasn't enough, and City recorded a comfortable win, and it takes them top of the league for the first time, with Chelsea stepping up. So a solid win, did what they needed to do. As for Watford, yeah, I don't think anyone really expected them to get anything out of this, so no real concerns to you, really. But moving on, Leeds 2, Brentford 2 was the score at Ellen Road. Roberts gave Leeds the lead in the 27th minute before Baptiste and Canos scored for Brentford, and Patrick Bamford equalised in the 95th minute. Yeah, Leeds, I would say they were probably the best team here. So yeah, they'll be very happy to have at least scraped a draw, but maybe they feel like they could have got better. For Brentford though, yeah, I think they'll be disappointed to concede it at the last. But moving on, United 1, Palace 0 was the score at Old Trafford. Fred with the only goal of the game in the 77th minute, and yeah, huge win for United to get the Ralph Rangnick era going in the best way possible. Yeah, and they're slowly building up a decent run of form now under Carrick/Rangnick. But yeah, on a whole, a professional performance got the job done, and it's a good start for Rangnick. As for Palace, I think they will be disappointed not to get anything out of it, but at the same time, would they really have expected much? I doubt it. But moving on, it finished Tottenham 3, Norwich 0 at White Hart Lane. Moura, Sanchez and Son were the goals for Tottenham, and yeah, this was a comfortable win for them. Maybe Norwich, you could argue they did deserve a bit more, but in the end, yeah, it was a comfortable win for Spurs. They were never really looking troubled here. And the Ante Conte revolution is really going now. They're starting to improve a lot, up into 5th place. And really knocking on the door of those Champions League positions. But moving on, Villa 2, Leicester 1 was the score at Villa Park. Harvey Barnes in the 14th minute gave Leicester the lead before Konza scored 2. There also was a VAR incident with Kasper Schmeichel. I mean, I'm not really sure if the goal should have been allowed. Technically, under the rules of the law, it should have been. But yeah, I'm not really sure, to be honest. But anyway, solid win for Villa. It didn't matter anyway. And the Gerrard revolution continues. As for Leicester, they'll be disappointed. I think they would have at least got a draw out this last season. Everton 2, Arsenal 1 was the score at Goodison on Monday night, and yeah, this was a result that Everton really deserved. Despite Arsenal taking the lead in first half stoppage time through Martin Odegaard, there were 2 disallowed goals for Everton, one in the first half, one in the second half, before Richarlison finally got his goal, and a stoppage time winner from Damari Gray gave them the win. And yeah, with their recent struggle, it's a huge win for them, but for Arsenal, 2 losses on the trot now. It's the form's starting to be a bit concerning because we know what they can be like, but for Everton, a huge win. Moving on to the Championship action now, and it finished Fulham 1, Bournemouth 1 at Creighton Cottage. Solanke gave Bournemouth lead in the 46th minute with a perfectly worked goal off half-time before Fulham equalised with 5 minutes to go. And yeah, it was definitely deserved equaliser. Fulham were the better team here, but yeah, couldn't find that winner. But Bournemouth, I think they'll be happy with a draw. A draw probably suits both teams, but Fulham will definitely be more disappointed. Still got a decent gap to the rest. But speaking of the rest, it was a great result for West Brom. They played themselves back into form against Coventry. Goals from Grant and a McFadden own goal gave them a 2-0 lead, but McFadden scored one for the team he was playing for later on, but West Brom held on. And yeah, that's a big win for West Brom, because obviously we know form's been a bit shaky recently, so that's a big one, and they can hopefully start making ground. As for Coventry out of the playoffs, I just hope they don't make this loss doesn't make their heads sink. But moving on, Bristol City 1, Derby 0 was the score at Ashton Gate. Alex got with the goal in the 16th minute, and yeah, great result for Bristol City. After all we said about Bristol City's home form, Ashton Gate suddenly becoming a bit of a fortress. I would say it's quite an even game. Maybe Bristol City, you could argue they were fortunate to win. But they got the win, and that's all that matters. Derby, they'll be disappointed. To be honest, if they want any chance of surviving, these are the sorts of games they have to be at least getting a draw out of. So they'll be disappointed. But it is what it is. Moving on, Cardiff 2, Sheffield United 3 was the score at the Cardiff City Stadium. Cardiff took the lead in the 32nd minute. However, goals from Sharp, Gibbs White, Sharp, and McGoldrick gave Sheffield United a comfortable lead. McGuinness pulled one back, but in the end it wasn't enough, and Sheffield United picked up the deserved win. They're definitely improving under Heckingbottom now, which is a positive sign for them. As for Cardiff, very inconsistent. Moving on, Reading 1, Hull 1 was the score at the Select Car Leasing Stadium. Tom Holmes put Reading in front with a lovely kick in the 45 plus 2 minutes before Malik Wilkes in the 55th minute equalised the scorings. Reading know they really should have won this, had several penalty shouts denied, so they'll be unhappy. As for Hull, though, keeps the unbeaten streak going, and yeah, edging them further away from the relegation zone. Moving on, Blackburn 1, Preston 0 was the score at Ewood Park. Ben Brereton Diaz, that man again in the 53rd minute with the goal, and yeah, a great result for Blackburners. Again, they're on a really solid run of form now, and yeah, you really can't fault what they're doing. Just absolutely incredible at the moment, and yeah, they really just need to keep it up. As for Preston, it's another disappointing result and performance, really. But moving on, Barnsley 1, Huddersfield 1 was the score at Oakwell. O'Brien gave Huddersfield the lead in the 33rd minute, and Carlton Morris equalised in first half stoppage time. But in the end, two teams had to settle for a draw. Huddersfield, I think they'll be disappointed. They're kind of slipping down the league now into 11th. As for Barnsley, it's a solid result, but if they want to stay up, they really need to start turning these into wins, really. But moving on, it finished Millwall 3, Birmingham 1 at the Den. Wallace, Bradshaw and Evans with the goals for Millwall. Troy Deeney with 1 for Birmingham. And yeah, Millwall, I'd say they probably deserve the win here. They're up into 8th now, edging further closer to the playoffs, only 4 points off now. But yeah, it's all about just keeping that sustained pressure going. As for Birmingham in 16th, not a great performance, but there's still positives to take. Moving on, Blackpool 0, Luton 3 was the score at Bloomfield Road. This was domination station for Luton. Sonny Bradley had a bow on Clark scoring. However, if you look at the stats, Blackpool actually weren't too bad. More shots on target and more possession. But yeah, Luton were just really clinical, up to 12th now. We need to see this on a more consistent basis for them. As for Blackpool, down to 15th. Yeah, I hope they can rediscover some of their earlier form soon. But moving on, the score was Middlesbrough 1, Swansea 0 at Riverside Stadium. Isaiah James was the only goal of the game in the 26th minute. And yes, Swansea, they really should have done more from this. 10 more shots than Middlesbrough. More possession as you come to expect from them. But in the end, they just couldn't do it, and Middlesbrough held on to the win. It's another solid win under Chris Wilder. But yeah, Swansea will be disappointed because they definitely deserve something out of this. But moving on, it finished Forest 2, Peterborough 0 at the City ground. Goals from Garner and Yates in the 72nd and 84th minute gave Forest a win. And yeah, it's a comfortable win for Forest in the end. They're up to 13th now. The revolution of the Steve Cooper continues. As for Peterborough, another disappointing performance, and they are starting to get a bit cut adrift at the bottom now. 5 points from safety. Form at the moment is really, really poor. So they definitely need to up it ASAP. But moving on then to the one Sunday game where it finished QPR 0, Stoke 2. Goals from Tyrese Campbell. Great to see him back on the score sheet, and Franchek. And yeah, for Stoke, I thought they were okay here, but QPR, they played well, but yeah, they just didn't get anything out of the game at all. But for Stoke, it's a great win for them, brings them back into the playoff positions. But for QPR, I think they'll be disappointed how they didn't get at least a draw from this. And yeah, I'll be very frustrated, but still in the POs. But anyway, guys, that's the video. Thanks very much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. Remember to comments down below. Follow me on Twitter, link description below for daily football news. And subscribe to my channel on the screen right now. That'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace.